literacy. You know, and our educational system is
Yeah.
so messed up. You know, I mean, I even though, I mean, being a business major, it obviously helped because I have personal finance and stuff like that.
Right.
But this is stuff I should have learned in middle school and,
Yeah.
elementary school and earlier on. So, yeah, I feel like that's one of the biggest problems that we have in this country is just the lack of financial education. And I just can't believe that there's not more curriculum based around, just how to save, how to invest, the opportunity cost, risk of inflation,
Right.
risk. I mean, just all that stuff needs to be in our school system, and it
100%.
isn't. So
I totally agree because, I mean, I was a teacher for many, many years and that kind of stuff. And then I went through the system. I like the idea of public school, and I'm happy I did that. I just wish that was supported enough to where they would teach more of that kind of stuff. Like, they barely taught us how our political system worked. It'd be really nice if they went and talked about how our financial system worked and stuff. Because I never considered myself much of a businessman, but it's something I really wished I knew more about, and now I'm learning later more in life and stuff like that. And I could have really learned that when I was young,
Yeah.
Right.
and as a teenager and stuff, and it would have helped me more with, because, I've always wanted to do art and stuff, which you kind of pigeonholed there, but you can make money doing that. And if I knew a little more then, probably could have been a little more successful, but I will be. Anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
and obviously you guys learned that pretty early on, But
Let me ask you, did you ever learn in school, did they ever teach you, do you remember, how do you write a check, right? Now, obviously, writing checks now is a little less common, but at the time, did you have a class that showed you, how do you write a check? What should you save? How do you pay bills? Do you ever meant anything on any type of economics whatsoever?
I did only because it was an elective, and that should not be an elective.
Yeah.
That should be a mandatory
Yes.
requirement, right?
And see, you're lucky because I can name, at our school, we didn't have it.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. When I got in high school, this is the best we had was Coach Dubas, which is a whole series of stories itself, but that taught a class. I don't even remember what it was called, but there was a 2-week period where we did a simulated business, right? Out of the whole year, there was this 2 weeks, and it was the most fun I had, and we basically created this business, right?
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then I realized everyone else did nothing. I literally tried to create an actual business, and I misunderstood what was going on. What was just supposed to happen was we were just supposed to read about these other businesses and then write a paper. Mm-hmm. I basically created this business and all these different things and how it would operate and how it would work. And that's why I had so much fun. And I still got an A, Coach Dubas. Basically, it was that you show some effort, you're going to get an A in his class, right?
Right.
But I thought, why don't they have this? Why don't they teach this? Why don't they teach financial literacy? Why don't they teach some version of, hey, you're about to go out into the world and life's about to hit you in the face. Here's some things you can expect, like rent and insurance and power and water and utilities and a car. And literally here's some things you can expect. Here's some careers. Here's how money works. Here's how taxes work. Even just basic. We don't even get into big principles yet. Let's just start with some basic financial principles.
Just how to be a productive member of society.
Yeah. How about that? How about, I would love, even included in that is about giving back. But you can't expect people that can't survive to give back. They can't contribute financially, but they can give back in other ways. I think that's a part of it. It's not just about, for everybody's not about making lots of money, right?
Right.
Everybody has different goals. But if you generate a lot of revenue, you can give a lot of revenue, right? So if your goal is to be generous and to go after things you're passionate about, then it makes sense to be financially literate, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I wish they'd have done that, and that's cool that you had an elective to do that. But if it wasn't for my mother teaching me how to write a check, I would have graduated high school, graduated college, and never being shown how to write a check. I get that seems like such a small thing, but I didn't even know how to use one of the primary financial instruments of the time.
Right.
I didn't even know how to use it, right? I have people in this building, and I'm not going to name the name, but I had to teach him how to write a check a few weeks ago. Right? Literally, he's like, well, where do I fill it out? Now they've gotten so used to using the debit card and credit card.
Right.
It's
all digital.
It's all digital now, right? But it's just, for me, it's just this is evidence of there is no financial education that takes place in school.
Right. And I hate politics, but I said if I ever ran for office, that would be my main platform.
Yeah.
Is changing that, because it's such a bad
It is.
system that we have.
Yeah, sure.
And you look at other countries that have said, hey, let's put that in the schools, and you see where they're at, and they're growing. But yeah, I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
In grade school, I never had any classes that focused on basic economics or even just how society works,
Yeah.
or how businesses work, how to be an entrepreneur. It was all just, learning, I guess, basic information, math and English and history and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not really how to apply it to anything.
Right.
And really no direction on where to go after school. And I didn't really apply myself in grade school anyway, but in college, we studied some of that stuff. I went to school for advertising and graphic design, and we did some cool business projects, which I enjoyed. I was a group leader in some of those projects. We would do like marketing campaigns, and you set up a company, you develop logos and marketing materials, and you reach out to different companies about types of different forms of advertising, and you figure out how to market your company through those different platforms. So that was a good experience, but that was the first, I guess, educational experience I had with anything related to business.
Mm-hmm.
But, outside of that, I learned a lot of things just on my own, because I've always had the desire to be an entrepreneur. So that was sort of a natural thing. And I had an uncle that planted a lot of those seeds at a really young age. I guess I'm sure there's some genetics involved in personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Like certain people are probably more predisposed to be independent or entrepreneurial. So maybe that has something to do with it too. But I think there would be a lot more entrepreneurs and a lot more successful people if schools were teaching that type of information. Because that's one of the keys to a good society, is having productive people.
Exactly.
I'm not like a huge person for conspiracy theories. At least I don't think I am. But I got to tell you, some of the like what I tell my children, and I don't know where I heard this originally, so I don't know who to give credit to it for, but they're going to go to college to find their employees, right? I feel like our education system is designed to generate employees, right? For the most part, right?
It is. Yeah.
And
The
so
Rockefellers.
Exactly. So I feel like,
true,
and so when
yeah.
I talk to my children, like my 9-year-old, and we talk basic business concepts and a barter system. He pays for half of anything. Like his taekwondo I pay for, right? But if he wants a special thing, right, a katana or a this or a that, some special thing that's not part of it, he's going to pay half of it. And if it's something I really don't think he needs, he has to pay all of it if he wants it. I'm not going to tell him he can't have it, right? And at 9, I think he's intelligent enough that if he wants something bad enough and he understands he's had to save and sacrifice with money, and he knows that if he buys $5 things, that eventually he can't buy the $100 thing, and he decides he wants a $100 thing, and I think it's a terrible idea, I'm going to tell him I think it's a terrible idea, but it's your money. If you'd like to do it, you can pay for all of it. And then he'll do it. And he's learning a lesson, right? Mm-hmm. So, with the exception of that, we split it 50-50. So I'm giving him all these things. Well, he's already talking because school brainwashes you. So I'm like literally, he'll come home, he'll tell me what his teacher, who makes $30,000 a year, is telling him, this process of what happens in life, that you go through school, you get to college, and you get a good job, a career, and you work. And it's the same story that I was getting told when I was in school. And the story is false. It's a false narrative, right? But, this is what my son's in this environment, so I have to kind of like decommission him. I'm like, well, listen, that's partially true. And you have to remember that we don't all play by the same rules. Like, this is a game, and there's a different set of rules for you if you choose to understand that it's a game, right? You're going to go to school, and I said it's a great place for you to find people to help run your companies, right? Like, I'm just talking to him in a different way.
Right.
And, like, for me, though, it makes me really think that the education system is designed to create a workforce, which comes back to this whole the Rockefeller thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was designed to fuel the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I know.
So
I get to talk
you want to turn
hours
it on
about that.
Yeah, you want to turn it on its head, and I like that.
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
give some background on it? Because a lot of people don't know this.
Well, I mean, the Rockefellers basically created the educational system to create employers or
Yeah.
employees, you know, because you need it, right, in the workforce.
you
and,
did.
But, you know, as a human being, do you really want somebody to tell you what you're worth your whole life? I couldn't imagine. I really can't. And that's why I'll never work on a salary, you know, or hourly pay. Like, I like performance based,
Yeah.
you know, because I can determine, you know, what my life's going to look like and basically what I'm worth.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so I guess I've read about this too. I think they even mentioned it in *Sapiens*, but so during that time, I don't remember what year that was, but it was hard to find, you know, it was new industry coming out. It was hard to find qualified people to do certain jobs. So they created the education system to make people more qualified for the jobs. So they would come out of school and have more knowledge, you know, be more structured, so they could fit right into these jobs for these corporations.
Yeah. What? And maybe that's okay, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
everybody, some people may say that's sign me up. That's what I want.
yeah,
At what point there should be a choice? And I think there's something missing. There's a vacuum. Like, where is the education system that you and I are talking about? And I'd like to be able to voluntarily put my child into that system, right? That has the school of thought that we're on the same page, right? It's amazing to me that all the self-help books, the positivity books, the business books, the entrepreneurship books, if you look at all these books, right, all this knowledge, and none of them are in the school system. Like, where is that education? So, like, I go, well, how do you just create that education, right? And so one of the things we're even considering now, predominantly because they're trying to make kindergarten-age kids wear masks for 8 hours a day, and I'm not a huge fan of that, right? Yeah, I can't wear the mask for 8 hours a day. I can't expect a 5-year-old to wear a mask for 8 hours a day. So, but anyway,
Right.
But that's also pushed me further to go, you know, maybe I need to look at other options. So I'm looking at various private schools, and they've got different ways that they're going to enforce, right? And then I'm looking at just hiring private educators. And then I'm looking at, you know, some version of homeschooling. So I'm trying to figure out all these things. I'm literally the last 2 weeks, I've been diving into it, trying to figure out, is there an education system that I think suits the way that I feel about things and the way that I believe and the way that I believe the world works? Is there an education system I can put my children in that environment? And there's not one that I can find. Maybe there is, but I can't find it.
right.
It seems like it seems like our education system should look at each kid objectively and find out what their interests are, and then separate the kids into those groups of
Interest.
where their interest is at. Because you know, we're all different. We all have we're all predisposed to like different things, to have interests in different areas. You know, some people are really artistic, some people are really analytical.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just a cookie cutter system where everybody goes through the same experience, and so I don't think people are learning what their real talents are. You know, I think they just have to figure it out on their own, and most people don't figure it out, or they don't know how to pursue that. So then you have 85% of people in society that hate what they do. They're miserable because they're not doing what they should be doing. They're not doing something that they're passionate about, or something that allows them to use their talents or their gifts. Because I think everybody has something that they really like. You know,
Right.
there's some aspect of their personality that would flourish in a certain environment or doing a certain task. And I think most people don't know what that is because no one's helped them at a young age pinpoint that ability.
No.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and back to what you were saying, I think that you know, there's a lot of stuff that you guys can, you know, Google and, you know, read and stuff like that. But, you know, is there an educational system or college? I mean, there's probably curriculum out there, but like we go back to the Rockefellers, I don't feel like it was designed that way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's kind of weird that you expect high school kids to know what they want to do anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're not a developed human. You're not a
Right.
developed human until you're about 26. So you're trying to figure out what you want to go to college for, if you want to go to college. And most kids have no idea. I mean, maybe they have maybe some kids have been sort of pushed in a certain direction, but you still don't really know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
I knew I didn't want to go to college. Now, I
Yeah.
ended up going back later.
Yeah.
Like, I went to college because I love my mom to death, but my mom just nagged the shit out of me about it, right? And so I made an attempt, but I wasn't into it, right? And I'm very stubborn. If I'm in it, if I'm in something, I'm in it. And, like, nobody can tell me I can't do it, and I'll just get it done. But I'm also the adverse to that. Like, I'm literally the opposite, and I just wasn't in it. So I showed up. I went through the motions, but it just wasn't my thing, right? Now, later on, when I decided I wanted to do it, I got the associates and then the bachelor's and the master's degree and enjoy education now, right? And I was an autodidact at that point. Like, I was self-educating. I just didn't want to be in this structured environment that I didn't like, that I had already been in for a long time that I hated, you know? But I think you're right, man. It's don't you think that a lot of parents don't know what their kids should do, so they just push them into college?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know you don't get what you want to do, but you should take on a lot of debt and go to school.
Well, my parents
Yeah.
were blue collars. They just wanted me to do better than them.
Mm-hmm.
And they I love my parents, they're great people, but they really buy into the idea that, you get a job and you just, even if you hate it, you work it, and you have to do that to make ends meet. And when I was a kid, I was like, I don't think reality has to be that way.
Yeah.
I saw other people be, successful people, had nice things, nice homes, nice cars, and I was like, well, if that person can do it, I can do it too. I think my parents just chose the wrong plan.
Yeah.
There are a few programs out there. I mean, the problem with it is there are some great programs, but they're small. They're sort of here and there. Like A+ was around for a while. That was a little better
Yeah.
than what you got in some other stuff. And then my mom started an early college that was like from a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and that kind of stuff. And that was kind of interesting because it took all these kids who would normally be like outcast in a school because they weren't like great at sports or natural mathematician or something like that. But it would take them into more of, I won't say an artistic environment, but more of like teaching people how to be an independent thinker, a lot of problem solving.
Yeah.
And they would destroy all the other regular school's grades. They would just be higher than
That's
everybody
awesome.
else.
That's good, yeah.
Fighting, of course, like they didn't want them to succeed, but they ended up being a success story. But you have to make sure the people running it keep that same thing in mind, which is a really hard part. But
Yeah.
she's retired from that now. But it was a good thing in that kind of way. But
Yeah.
it's too bad it's not like widespread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a little better.
No, I would love that
Yeah.
as an option, like
Yeah.
something like that.
That's a good point, though, talking about the tech side of it or artistic side is, if you're young and you have some type of artistic ability and you really enjoy that, you should pursue that.
Yeah.
Or if you're interested in technology, and that's a great field,
Yeah.
Pursue technology because you can get a job in those fields and be very successful if you're in Silicon Valley or somewhere
Yeah.
like that. Or,
Create your own.
get
Yeah.
get that high-paying job, get really good at what you do, and then branch off and create your own company.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs that have really good trades or good skills. That those are specialty things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. We're sort of like we're just serial entrepreneurs, so we have this general understanding of business. But if you have a really good skill at something specific, you can turn that into a business.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I'm sure like you guys are on so many different things. Like it wasn't just one thing, or you specialize in a certain area. It's just overall business.
Right. Yeah. Just
principles,
creating
right?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and finding value and transferring that value. you
Right,
know?
yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel like there should be something better to help people find what they actually want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.